Here's the thing nobody tells you about the car wash business. A basic exterior tunnel wash costs somewhere between $8 and $15. You drive in dirty, you drive out clean, the whole thing takes 4 minutes. 4 minutes. That is a transaction. And yet, a well-run express tunnel car wash in a high-traffic suburban location generates between $1 million and $2 million in annual revenue. Some of the top performing locations in the country clear over $3 million on a wash that costs $8. Understanding how that math works tells you almost everything you need to know about whether this business is worth buying into. There are 3 main formats in the car wash industry, and each one carries completely different economics. The first is self-serve. These are the open bay operations where customers feed coins or cards into a box, grab a wand, and wash their own car. Capital costs are low. Labor costs are nearly zero, but revenue is capped by the time each customer spends in the bay. The number of bays you have, and the fact that you are selling 4 to 8 minutes of water pressure to someone who is doing all the work themselves. Self-serve bays generate revenue, but they generate it slowly, inconsistently, and with an average ticket that rarely breaks $5. The business model survives on cheap land, minimal overhead, and volume spread across multiple locations. It is not where the big money in car washing lies. The second model is in-bay automatic. This is the machine that comes to the car instead of the car moving through a tunnel. The vehicle pulls in, the driver stays inside, and the equipment rolls back and forth over the car. You see these attached to gas stations and standalone locations across the country. A single in-bay automatic unit can process somewhere between 20 and 30 cars per hour at capacity. That ceiling matters. Once the machine is running, you cannot push more cars through it than the mechanical cycle allows. Your revenue per location is bounded by that throughput limit. In-bay automatics are a reasonable secondary revenue stream, especially on a gas station lot where they capture existing foot traffic, but as a standalone business model, they hit a ceiling quickly. The third model is a tunnel, and this is where the economics of the car wash business become genuinely interesting. In an express tunnel operation, the car is put in neutral, the driver keeps their hands off the wheel, and the vehicle is pulled through a conveyor system while a sequence of automated equipment applies soap, brushes, rinses, and air drying in a continuous line. A well-run express tunnel can process 100 to 180 cars per hour. At 180 cars per hour, running 8 to 10 hours a day, the throughput math starts to look like a completely different business than anything the self-serve or in-bay model can produce. The constraint is no longer the machine. It is how many cars you can pull into the entrance. Revenue in a tunnel operation comes from several streams, and the interaction between those streams is where the business model gets sophisticated. Single wash tickets are the most visible. You pay at a kiosk or a staffed booth, you select a package, basic exterior, deluxe with wheel cleaning, premium with ceramic coating or tire shine, and you drive through. The average ticket on a package wash system at a competitive location runs between $12 and $20, depending on the market and the upsell rate. The difference between a customer who buys the $8 basic and a customer who buys the $18 premium is $10 of almost pure margin, because the incremental cost to the operator of running a car through with higher grade chemicals and an extra air freshener stage is measured in cents, not dollars. Upselling is not a secondary consideration in this business. It is a core revenue mechanism. Vacuums are a separate line item that most people overlook. Free vacuums used to be the standard offer at full-service locations. Express tunnels have largely moved to paid vacuum stations. Self-serve, set up in the lot. $1 or $2 per use, no labor costs, no capital-intensive equipment cycle. They are not the center of the business, but they are consistent incremental revenue that requires almost nothing to operate once installed. Detailing services and add-on packages exist at the premium end of the market, at locations that combine tunnel throughput with staffed interior cleaning bays. Those operations carry higher labor costs and slower throughput, which is the trade-off. You make more per car, but you run fewer of them. The business model decision of whether to operate express only or add full service is largely a question of land, labor market, and the income profile of the surrounding customer base. But none of these revenue streams explain the single most important financial innovation in the modern car wash industry, which is the unlimited wash club, the membership model. You pay a flat monthly fee, somewhere between $20 and $40 depending on the tier, and you can wash your car as many times as you want. For the customer, it feels like a deal. For the operator, it is the best thing that has ever happened to the business. Memberships convert a transaction business into a subscription business. Instead of hoping a customer drives in on a Tuesday in February, you have already collected that customer's $25 on the first of the month, regardless of whether they show up. Seasonality, which is one of the most brutal economic pressures in car washing because people stop washing their cars when it is cold and raining, gets partially absorbed by a membership base that is paying every month whether the weather cooperates or not. The top performing express tunnels in the country are running membership attach rates of 60 to 70% of their total wash volume. That is a predictable, recurring cash flow base sitting underneath the variable walk-in traffic on top of it. It is why private equity started buying car washes aggressively in the 2010s and has not stopped. None of this works, though, without the right location. Volume is everything in this business, and volume is a function of traffic. The industry standard threshold for a viable express tunnel site is a minimum of 25,000 vehicles per day on the road in front of the property. The top locations sit on corridors with 40,000 to 60,000 daily traffic counts. A car wash is not a destination. A person does not drive across town to wash their car. They pull in because they were already going past, they noticed it, and the entry was easy. Ingress, egress, visibility from the road, proximity to grocery stores and gas stations and daily errand retail. These are not aesthetic considerations. They are the fundamental demand drivers that separate a location doing 200 washes a day from one doing 600. Weather shapes demand on a weekly and seasonal basis, which is part of why the membership model matters so much. Local competition determines your pricing ceiling and your marketing cost. And customer convenience, specifically how fast the line moves and how easy it is to get in and out, determines your repeat rate in a business where the whole model depends on the same cars coming back over and over again. So you understand how the money comes in. The question is, how much of it stays? Building a new express tunnel car wash from the ground up costs between $3 million and $5 million for a full-size operation. Land in a high-traffic suburban corridor, the kind of location that actually produces the volume this model requires, runs between $500,000 and well over $1 million depending on the market. Construction of the building, tunnel, and lot adds another $800,000 to $1.5 million. The tunnel equipment itself, the conveyor system, the wash arch, the dryers, the chemical delivery systems, the point-of-sale kiosks, that package runs $600,000 to $1.2 million. Permits, environmental review, utility connections, and the 6 months of working capital you need before the business stabilizes add another $300,000 to $500,000. You are spending real money before a single car drives through. Ongoing expenses hit from multiple directions simultaneously. Labor is the largest variable cost, typically running 15 to 25% of revenue at a well-run express tunnel. Water and chemicals together run another 5 to 10%. Utilities, including the electricity to run dryers and equipment at full throughput, are substantial and non-negotiable. Maintenance is the expense operators most frequently underestimate. The equipment runs all day, every day, in a chemically aggressive environment. Conveyor components, brush systems, and dryer units degrade constantly. A serious mechanical failure during peak hours does not just cost you a repair bill. It costs you every car that was going to come through that afternoon. Debt service on a $3 million to $5 million build-out is the number that sits on top of everything else every single month, whether 200 cars came through or 600. The relationship between fixed and variable costs is where the real leverage in this business lives. Your debt service does not change based on car count. Your land cost does not change. Your core equipment costs do not change. What changes is how many cars you run across that fixed cost base. A tunnel doing 300 washes a day at an average ticket of $15 generates $4,500 in daily revenue. At 500 washes, that same fixed overhead base produces $7,500. The incremental cost of those extra 200 cars is mostly chemicals and water. That is the operating leverage that makes the express tunnel model attractive when it works, and the same leverage that destroys margins when car counts come in below projections. The unit economics come down to a handful of numbers. Average ticket tells you the revenue per transaction. Car count tells you total daily volume. Membership retention tells you what percentage of your revenue base is showing up on the first of next month, regardless of what happens. Revenue per operating hour tells you whether your throughput is anywhere close to what the equipment can actually handle. A tunnel running at 40% of capacity during peak hours is not a volume problem. It is a site selection problem, and site selection problems do not get fixed after you sign the lease. The risks are specific and they are serious. Equipment downtime at a high volume location compounds quickly because the model runs on throughput. Poor site selection is permanent. You cannot move the tunnel after it is built. Water restrictions in drought-prone markets can directly limit operating hours or volume. Competitive pricing pressure from a new operator who opens across the street can compress your average ticket faster than your membership base can protect you. Before you invest, three numbers matter more than anything else. What is the break-even car count required to cover all fixed and variable costs? What is the realistic payback period on the capital invested, given conservative volume assumptions, not optimistic ones? And what occupancy rate, what daily car count, are you actually underwriting, and does the traffic data in front of that specific property support it? Car washes can be genuinely attractive businesses. The margins are real, the membership model is real, the operating leverage is real, but the business only works when three things line up at the same time. The numbers are conservative and honest. The site is genuinely strong, and the operation runs well enough to keep customers coming back. When all three align, the economics hold. When even one of them doesn't, the fixed cost base is waiting for you every month regardless.